to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This one's wife. She screamed, "Make it stop!" Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Information was brought to my attention which has provided another opportunity to analyse the responses and reactions of this one's wife to deem if the information has credibility, and also to help you understand why this one's wife would react in the way that she did. Neil Sean, on his Daily News Headlines channel, had reported on a reaction from this one's wife to the recent Hollywood Reporter article. As you will recall, see parts passing, the Hollywood Reporter article has proven particularly problematic for this one's wife for a number of reasons. First of all, it's critical of her, which thus threatens her need for control. Because she's being spoken about, it provides her with fuel, but it's challenge fuel. And as a narcissist who holds herself out as basically being a lovely person, being criticised for being essentially a dictator in high heels, a bully, somebody who repeatedly changes her mind and doesn't take advice, and an individual who has reduced grown men to tears, that completely clashes with the facade that she puts out there. Thus, such commentary is a significant threat to her control, along with the amplification of the reportage of what the Hollywood Reporter stated. Furthermore, it's problematic for her because she can't play the usual tactic of saying, well, this is the British media and they're all racist and biased against me. No, this was the Bible, the industry which she wants to be part of, reporting on her. And it wasn't the grumblings of one discontented employee, but as per the article, a dozen people had been spoken to and presumably had provided signed affidavits confirming the evidence, and thus the Hollywood Reporter was sat feeling most pleased with itself and content that they had actual evidence that would support what was written about this one's wife. Furthermore, the Hollywood Reporter wasn't minded to do her any favours, undoubtedly seeing this as an opportunity to expose the way that she treats people. She was accused of bullying when she was in the United Kingdom. She was accused of bullying behaviour in Australia. Remember the tea-throwing incident. And now she is being accused of bullying behaviour in relation to those that work for her. This is not a surprise for a mid-range narcissist such as her, attempting to look all sweetness and light to the outside world, but behind closed doors, manifesting heating ignited fury as a consequence of when there is a threat to control, and thus the sweet facade that she tries to use doesn't exist because the world isn't watching behind closed doors. And thus the heated, ignited fury manifests as she tears a strip off people, shouts at them, demeans them, belittles them, invalidates them. This will, of course, enable her to draw fuel from their sobbing reaction, which she will naturally take great delight in by receiving that negative fuel. And also, it enables her to gain control because that person has essentially shrunk back under the onslaught of her heated, ignited fury. But it is invariably the case with the narcissist of the lower calibre of this one's wife, it results in collateral consequences. The high turnover of staff, the way that bullying allegations were formulated in the United Kingdom, the way that now 12, not one, not two, but 12 people have all seen fit to provide evidence of her bullying behaviour. And she can't just dismiss it as the racist ramblings of hate-filled British media. It comes from the very place that she worships at, and thus is entirely problematic. It was reported that her response to this was to scream, "Make it stop." And that seems entirely plausible as a consequence of the fact that when she learned of the piece being run, and of course they will have contacted her or her press office for comment, saying, We have an article that we're running that exposes the bullying behaviour of this one's wife. We have 12 people confirming that she's a dictator in high heels, etc. Do you have any comment? This will then have been relayed to her. The knowledge that the industry Bible was talking about her in this way amounts to a threat to control, and therefore her response is heated, ignited fury. Therefore, it is entirely conceivable that she would have screamed, "Make it stop." There's a certain irony with that also. It effectively confirms the very thing that they're talking about. Rather than a considered dismissive response to the allegations, or essentially thinking, right, how do we kill this in an appropriate way? Do we shower them with love to make it go away? Do we bribe them in some way? No, it's effectively a bullying response. Heated, ignited fury as a consequence of the threat to control, with the order issued, make this go away. It's not a surprise to find her reacting that way, and it just reaffirms the type of person that she is. Apparently, just 10 minutes after the Hollywood Reporter invited comment, a call was put back to them, which basically stated, "If you print this, we will go legal." This is the use of threat utilized by this one's wife for the purposes of assertion of control. And again, it demonstrates that it's not particularly well thought out. A more evolved narcissist might have some information that they could use in effect to have as a subtle threat against the Hollywood Reporter, that they would have more extensive reach and firepower. Not going down the legal route, but have some dirt on certain individuals, possibly on those at the Hollywood Reporter, or alternatively just say, look, I've got a better story for you. How about this? And dishes some really interesting dirt on somebody else so that the Hollywood Reporter thinks, yeah, okay, we won't talk about you, we'll talk about this person instead. But this one's wife lacks that sophistication, and instead she goes down the often trodden route of threatening legal proceedings. The problem with that is that media outlets are well used to that being the case and will see them as little more than idle threats. The problem with it also is that a threat to go legal has no real credibility when an organisation has got 12 people who will presumably have all sworn affidavits confirming what was said, and therefore furnishes the news outlet with a pretty solid defence in the case of any legal action taking place. It also isn't a particularly sensible threat, because if legal proceedings had to take place, and of course a media organisation isn't going to roll over in the same way as a solitary individual would. They have access to greater resources, better lawyers, etc. So it's more likely that this one's wife would have to walk the walk and actually institute legal proceedings. There are several problems with that for her. First of all, the cost of doing so. She's getting strapped for cash for reasons that have been explained elsewhere, and therefore further expenditure on lawyers, when it's not guaranteed that she will succeed and thus could incur losers' costs as well, is something that would not be attractive. Furthermore, the fact is that it would have the Barbra Streisand effect. Whilst plenty of people know about the Hollywood Reporter, if she was then to litigate off the back of it, then it would bring even more attention to the allegations, and with the likelihood that the Hollywood Reporter would successfully defend any claim that she brought, it would then reinforce the allegations against her that would then be seen to have been proven true in a court of law, rather than just simply be an allegation that was contained in affidavits from the various members of staff. Therefore, it would blow up spectacularly. Thus, issuing that threat isn't particularly sensible, but it is understandable, because mid-range narcissists love using threat. They love using threat because it's easy. It's easy to threaten to do something without the necessity of actually executing the threat, because the power resides in the threat, not its execution. It's also attractive because it's simply saying something rather than doing something, which of course the narcissism likes to conserve energy and resources. And I've explained elsewhere why narcissists use threat in the way that they do, and you can watch that video to understand more about why mid-rangers utilise it. But it's not a surprise that that was the response that came back from this one's wife. And again, it's not a surprise that it wasn't a particularly effective one, nor a sensible one for the reasons that I've just outlined. It wasn't effective because the Hollywood Reporter didn't back down. It's also reported that Prince Harry became involved in trying to cause them to shift the position. Why was that happening? Well, that's the use of a lieutenant. The intimate partner primary source is a lieutenant who's wheeled out to try to assert control over this dissenting organ. Harry, not known for being a diplomat, not known for his tact, not known for his sophistication. But again, it shows the desperation of this one's wife and the arrogance of Harry to think that he could cause them to ditch the story and not run with it. It's also entertaining, of course, because it demonstrates once again how this one's wife and Harry want to stop people speaking out when it relates to them. How they crow about wanting to stop misinformation, but they're only interested in stopping misinformation about them, not about anybody else, demonstrating once again that they're a pair of hypocrites. Accordingly, if this information that Neil Sean has reported on is correct, and it certainly has the smack of authenticity because it's entirely commensurate with how a narcissist of this one's wife's ilk would operate and respond, it also provides you with excellent insight from me to understand why she responded in this way, why she reacted to the Hollywood Reporter in the fashion that she did, and why she issued the threat that was ultimately entirely useless. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.